and Senator Blunt, and the order for the Senators McCain and Chambliss be vitiated.
Without objection.
I'm pretty amused at what the Senate's doing. We sit here with a $1.6 trillion deficit, and we're running bills based on political philosophy rather than what the real problems are in front of our nation. You know why oil is expensive today? It's because the dollar's on its back, and oil's priced in dollars. And if you want the price of oil to go down, like it has this week and the tail end of last week, is you want the value of the dollar to go up, because the world trades oil in dollars. Why is the dollar down? The dollar's down is because an incompetent Congress continues to spend money that we don't have on things that we don't absolutely need. And if you want the dollar to improve in value, what you'd have to do is hold the Congress accountable for doing what they were elected to do, which is live within our means. And we can't come together and solve the very real problems. You realize that if, in fact, our deficit wasn't $1.6 trillion, but about $600 billion, the price of the dollar would shoot way up and the price of oil will go down. Now, we hear all these stories. I get all these letters from all of my constituents to say, well, you got to eliminate the commodity speculation. We can do that in this country. We can say you can't speculate on oil unless you can take delivery. And that will do nothing to the speculated price of oil, because oil is an international commodity. And people are always going to speculate on what they think the price of a needed commodity is going to be. So if we controlled all the economics in the world, we could control that speculation, but we can't. What we do know is price controls don't work. They don't work at all. So if, in fact, we want to fix the price of oil, what we have to do is fix our economic mess here and strengthen the dollar, which will lower the price of oil and lower the price of gasoline. The debate we're going through here is all about politics, creating somebody that's bad. Do you realize the 5 big oil companies make less than 8% return on their sales? They make a lot of money, but they're giant companies. But compared to most other of the S&P 500, their return on sales is far less. And they're not making record profits. They made record profits when oil was 142. That's when they made record profits. It's this terrible habit we have of saying, and let me draw a corollary. If I'm an Iowa farmer, or from Indiana or Illinois or Oklahoma, and I have a great corn crop and the price of corn is $4, and I decide not to sell my corn, right? I decide not to sell it, and now all of a sudden corn's $6.80. Oh, I'm going to sell it now at $6.80. Now, what are we going to do? Are we going to penalize that farmer for having a resource that he took a risk on and not selling at a higher price? We're going to say, wait a minute, we're going to double or triple tax you? The other thing that I'm amazed at, you know, most people know me as a doctor, but I spent 10 years as an accountant and business manager. I have a degree in accounting. And the lack of knowledge of my colleagues on American standard accounting principles is amazing. Every benefit they're talking about taking away won't go away, because they're all legitimate business expenses and they'll all be expensed. Why did the Congress back in 1906 give this advantage to our oil companies? Why did they do that? Because drilling for oil is a capital-intensive business. And if you want more oil found, what you have to do is be able to generate the internal rate of return to put that capital in. So we offered accelerated write-off for expenses. Now, it's interesting that we're not going after all the oil companies or all the gas exploration. We're only going after the big 5. Why is that? Because my colleagues know that if you did the same thing to the ones that are actually producing most of the gas in this country, all the new technology, which the R&D tax credit and the intangible drilling costs allowed to be developed that makes this country with 100 years worth of natural gas would go away. And the smaller and medium-sized oil companies will never be able to have the capital to continue to perform and raise our level of energy resources ourselves. So what you're hearing on the floor is a charade. The price of oil is high is because the dollar's weak. Now, if you want to punish somebody for that, punish the U.S. Congress, punish the Federal Reserve, punish the executive branch, but don't go after somebody that's going to create 90,000 new jobs in our country this next year. We always look for the right political moment to make somebody look bad. Well, the people that look bad is the U.S. Congress, because we don't have the guts to stand up and say we need a cogent energy policy that says we're going to go after our own resources, we're going to use every asset we have to utilize cleanly and friendly the tremendous reserves that we have in this country. We know we have 160 billion barrels of recoverable oil in this country. They're not proven, but that's what the estimate is. We're the third largest oil producer in the world. We could become the second largest oil producer in the world if we had a cogent government policy and environmental policy. We have oil out the kazoos. We're going to find more oil as we explore for more natural gas. Right now, we're only importing 47%. 47% of our oil needs. It was 65% less than 10 years ago. Why is that? A part of it is smaller demand because we've been in a recession, but the vast majority of it is the very technology that they want to deny the fast write-off for is what has created gas liquids that have filled the void. It's better than the best crude oil in the world. And that's coming out of North Dakota, it's coming out of West Virginia, it's coming out of Oklahoma and Texas. Great stuff, easy to refine, cheap gasoline in terms of the cost to get it from a product to a product we can use. So I'm pretty well disgusted with what I'm hearing on both sides of the aisle, because the real problem is not the price of oil. The real problem is the price of the dollar. And if we will fix that, we'll fix tons of things that help our economy. But we're recalcitrant to the point we won't do the things that we need to do. Our government's twice the size it was 11 years ago. 2 times the size. No wonder we're running a $1.6 trillion deficit. No wonder that we don't have the effect. We have the largest number of regulations to ever come out of any administration in the history of the country in the first 2 years of this administration. It is killing job formation. It is causing people not to invest. It is causing a lack of economic growth in our country because we have people making decisions that have no idea what they're doing or what the ramifications of those decisions are. They're lawyers whose first creed is don't do what's best for the country, do what's safe for the bureaucracy. That's how we're running this government today. We have 45% more regulations issued in the first 2 years of the Obama administration than anybody else has ever done. And we wonder why we're not getting job creation. We continue to refuse to debate on the Senate floor the very real issues that are in front of this country. The very real issues like what part of government can we do without? How do we get a future for our children? The fact is we've lived the last 30 years off the next 30 years of our kids. And that bill is due. It's not due a year from now, it's due now. And we're tied up in knots because we have this false indication that a debt limit means something. If a debt limit meant something, we wouldn't be raising the debt limit. It would say we would quit borrowing. But instead, every time we come up to the debt limit, we're asked to raise the debt limit. We won't make the hard choices of what part of government is not valuable in light of the fact that we're cutting the legs off from under our children and our grandchildren. So this debate, you're going to hear a lot of finger pointing about what's bad with big oil, what's bad with oil, what's bad with the price of gas. What's bad is Congress isn't doing its job. We're not addressing real issues and solving the real problems in front of this country. With that, I yield the floor.